So for me, I work really hard. I have a strong discipline, but my Saturn in my 12th house, but it's in Leo. But I don't always get appreciated for my work, but I still have to do it because I can't let it be undone. I have little tolerance for people that don't do things right. I work too hard. I have too many spiritual disciplines, rather than too few. But I've never worked for other people. I worked for myself most of my life. So with authority, I do have some challenges. There's challenges with the Saturn and 12th. They're dealable. If you're conscientious, you can direct your work to something you believe in or something you're conscientious about and solve a lot of problems, and it's worthwhile. But when you're first projecting out your identity, it's going to go into that 12th house, and there's going to be a caution. Oh, geez, I got to work against the system. I got to get past the boss or past the father or past the authority figure to be able to express myself. I have to wait. I can't just, her nature with the Sun Mars book is talk right away. But the circumstances, I can't talk here. I got to wait here. I got to wait till I have my point, till I've got the stage. But a book, talking to a book and getting a book out would bypass this, and then people would want to hear what she have to say. Then she's responding. Something like that would work great. Okay. And with the outer planets, we looked at, you really see their presence in the houses. So Uranus, the planet of excitement, but also sudden change and unconventionality. It's in Scorpio. So, but it's about trust, about freedom and trust. But it's in the second house, which means there's a need to make money for oneself independently. But there's also unstable ways. It's going to be difficult to get money or get that support from practical areas. It's almost like you have to reach beyond to get it. So again, you see, well, if I were doing astrology, making money might be up and down, but at least I'd be getting something enough to get by, better than trying to just work at McDonald's or work someplace just get paid minimum wage to get by, or stay at home. I wouldn't. So the money places, there's the need for money. There's the changeability of it from the moon in the second house, but the Uranus there adds an unconventional side. Yeah, it's not going to work. There's a worry about it. So they, like, she could do a job for something and then the person doesn't pay them. There's the Uranus square the Mars. But if she's doing things for herself, there's a need to do independent things and find independent, just find, use one's resources independently. She might have to publish the book herself or use the web or whatever. Like, the world's changing. But this change, this excitement is there. It squares her sun and the moon. So that it's the worry about not having the change, the worry, I'll never have it, oh, it's too extreme, it's too could talk her out of, oh, I better not do this, I better just settle for this. And she has to grow in her maturity to overcome that anxiety and find some independent financial resources. And then that tends to work okay. Even then, work would be up and down, not exactly stable. She wants stability, but she most likely to work at things that would better to have a couple of things that if one isn't working, you get the other. It's better to have that freedom than just having to do something and be told what to do all the time. Okay, now we haven't talked about Neptune yet. We're going to go to Neptune. Neptune's in Sagittarius, ruled by understanding, ruled by ruling the Jupiter. So the nature of having a visions and having understanding and believing. It's in her third house, which implies Neptune's also, it's negatively, well, positively it's the dream, the vision, the belief, the faith, the trust, the rapture, the devotion. These are all things. So mentally she wants to believe. She's going to believe, the third house of expressing herself, she wants to believe. She's interested in mystical things. But negatively, it's disbelief. It's letting other people think you. It's being affected by, but again, it's not, it's brothers and sisters, third house, trying to understand. But there's a dream of traveling with that Neptune in the third house, a dream of changing things, of evolving out. But it's not, never goes as fast as one expects it to do. The Neptune has no bad aspects to it. It's sextile to Pluto, it's sextile to Sun and Mars, it's conjunct the IC, but it's opposing the midheaven, so it's not, it's taking, I may want to do things that aren't practical careers. That's the Neptune there. And there's a need to be really honest, not to tell stories or lies. Because if she starts being dishonest or confused, that Neptune could, it just, but it's not negatively aspected, but its presence in the third house implies confusions with brothers or sisters or great expectations, or it implies kind of visionary need to study and to learn, but often the learning doesn't come easy. It's confusing to get the teaching you need. People should, you think you should have this, should have that, and you almost have to grow into your spiritual knowledge. And once it comes in, the scientific side of spiritual knowledge would be a really powerful support system for her. But the need to believe in herself, to have her own wheels, to be able to do some things, go places, to trust her own ideas, even if she's getting put down in other ways, she has that strong belief there. Out of her motivation, that Neptune comes and she'll be pushing to have that belief, to express that belief, or those adventures. Okay. Sometimes I could bring out an over idealistic or out of focus, sometimes gullibility, but again, because it's not aspected, it's just presence in the house. It could be learning another language. It could be expanding one's horizons beyond the way one grew up, other than other people would have expected. It could be an evasiveness to the way brothers and sisters in the family grew up. I got to stay out of this to be able, I got to escape from this to be able to get that. I won't get a lot, I'm just getting some pieces of this. Each one is a piece of the puzzle, this big lock and key with all these, each planet's another notch in the lock. But you turn around and you try, oh, there's that. You can't absorb everything from, but there's not stress coming from Neptune. It's Uranus and Pluto that are her challenges. The Pluto, that's in the first house. Strong identity. The Virgo ascendant, my self-critical identity. But the Pluto in the first house makes power struggles around it. I have to do this, I need to do this. It makes one strong and controlled in one's identity, or being controlled. You have to do this, you have to be controlled. There's controls around one's identity, and it squares her Venus. So the Venus rules it. So the fear of being not valued or undervalued and need to be appreciated and valued are so strong. But she could, when she does something she wants, she'll be really strong to do it. But when she tries to relax to get appreciation for it, she's going to feel it's not going to come normally. And a lot of times it wouldn't. At least not from family, not from, or even just think issues of marriage. She might say how she sees herself married or not, and how family and other people are going to see it. Not necessarily going to be on the same wavelength. Okay, so we're doing these charts cold without any feedback, without any other. In fact, we're just trying to look at factors, and we see these factors. You can imagine the worst if you want, but it's not worth it. You can see this whole spectrum of things, these problems, these aspects can cause, the challenges in the houses. Then you got to wonder what they're doing with it, how they deal with it. Because if someone's lived 20 years or 30 years or 50 years, they've lived with it and they've integrated, they've used it. So it's not that life's not the wonderful miracle it is. It's just that these are karmic things we have to deal with and play out. Okay. Yeah, so now I want to go to the angles. Had them, 1 second. Let's have to find them just a second. I think we're in here. 8, yes, okay. So we're going to pull up the one. Two. Ascendant. in the IC. Okay. So I always start with the IC because it's just the deepest point. It's where the person has come from. It's who the person is. It's where they're coming from. What motivates them. And then they project it out in the world to see how far they can get. And then they react to it. It comes back to their IC. So most astrology accentuates in midheaven. What you're going to do, your career is the most important thing. To me, your content, your integrity, your personal depth is the most important things. And on that personal depth, things can be really easy or very difficult in a very subjective way. So that's why I do these separately at the end. I mean, you can do that at the beginning, but I find doing the steps, you're seeing the main things. Now we're looking at the angles are not functions. They're not planets, which are dimensions of consciousness and functions. These are sensitive points that affect our patterning and cycles. They affect our being, but they're sensitive points. They're nerves that we react to or activate on, but they're not functions like a planet. But they can accentuate planets. So in this chart, Neptune's the only planet conjunct an angle. So in technical astrology, this would be called accidentally dignified. Neptune becomes prominent and stronger because it's conjunct one of the angles of the chart. It's going to have a more prominent effect in that person's life and destiny. So the conjunction is better than the square. The opposition has the potential for vision. And Neptune works so well for visions, for compassion, for social conscience. So the need to help. So there's a motivation here that has no bad aspects. It sextiles the moon, the need to express oneself and to feel secure. It squares the sun, the need to be knowledgeable and know and be confident about one's knowledge. And it conjuncts to Venus. So it really smoothly, her motivation is easily and spontaneously affected by the sun and moon, and she's integrating what she's taking in, what she's putting out fairly easily. Even though there can be very different extremes in what she's doing outwardly and where she's coming from. But her motivation is to understand the Sagittarius IC, to belong more, to adjust, to understand, to encompass, to include people. If you have 3 kids, you don't just pay attention to one, you take care of all 3, you work the team. So the need to belong, her Jupiter rules this. So she has to feel she's right and she's following, understanding, and she's motivated by learning and teaching and knowing. And she has to have that cosmopolitan sense to feel secure. And if she's around restrictive things, she's going to feel, I want to get out of here. That's the sides on the IC. Let me move. I don't want to just stay. If something's not working where I'm going to move to change it if I could. But also need to understand things differently. Now, that IC, again, everyone's IC opposes their midheaven. It's you to yourself, in yourself, not about how you live with yourself. But her Neptune is conjuncted, and this is a really important factor. She's motivated by dedication, by believing. When she believes in something, when she's motivated by something, she'll believe it. When she believes it, she'll go on this belief and project this belief out and pull people around that have similar beliefs. And she will have large groups. She gets really involved that way. But she may not get the support from brothers and sisters. There can be confusions from brothers or sisters. But the need to be believed, to believe in one's own motive, and to be motivated to project the dream, project the vision, that's there with that Neptune in the 3rd house. Sometimes there's a need to have another language, to have a second language, to be able to express oneself, need to travel. But so you're not seeing any breaks here. You're someone who's motivated by vision. It's a spiritual motivation. The challenge becomes to be self-reliant, sincere, and consistent enough, not just running at every little thing that comes around.